but the Deputy National Commissioner of Crime Detection, Lieutenant General Sabia, and the Chief of Staff of the Minister, Mr. Kabini, were against the plan. They were in favor of the immediate disbandment. The Minister's conduct in these meetings, and in general regarding the disbandment, was very concerning to me. I inquired from the Minister at the beginning of the meeting what was the reason and background for the decision to disband the PKTT. And then the Minister responded that the political killings took place pre-94, not after. During the meeting, the presentation of Lieutenant General Khumalo was partially accepted. The Minister was adamant and supported by Lieutenant General Sabia and the Chief of Staff that the dockets had to be returned to the station of origin and not to another unit or structure in KZN. The Minister also made it clear that the phased-out approach or winding down of the disbandment of PKTT must be finalized during 2025. Nevertheless, and this is really the point I want to ask you about, because it seems to override this plan that was presented on 6. Nevertheless, the meeting concluded that Lieutenant Generals Khumalo and Sentumile must revise and amend the plan in accordance with the decisions taken during the meeting. This must be prepared for sign-off by the Minister. It was agreed that there would be a further meeting convened on the 27th of March to finalize the plan. Until then, no further action would be taken because the plan had not been approved and signed. The following was highlighted in the presentation. The need for the avoidance of adverse and unnecessary challenges that could be faced if the PKTT is disbanded was of paramount importance. In this regard, the proposal that there be a phased-out approach to the disbandment along the lines set out in the preliminary report. 2, insofar as the 114 dockets were already on the court roll or before the court, the recommendation was that these 114 dockets remain with the current PKTT officers, both in KZN and the Eastern Cape, until finalization of the prosecution process, and thereafter there will be a gradual withdrawal of the remaining PKTT members until all cases are finalized. And then there was a proposal how the remaining members of the PKTT would have to have the following responsibilities. I'm not going to read that out. That's for the record. That's at paragraph 138 at page 44 of General Masimola's affidavit. Then the General reproduces this plan at paragraph 139, and that is where you say there was some kind of an agreement or consensus or whatever. It says there, submit the final close-up report to the Minister 31 March 2025. But then at 140, the National Commissioner says, on 27 March 2025, a follow-up meeting was held regarding the implementation of the PKTT disbandment plan. In attendance at this meeting was the Minister, the 2 Deputy Ministers, Lieutenant General Sentumile, Lieutenant General Sabia, Lieutenant General Khumalo, and a Lieutenant Colonel, and me. I must mention that the PKTT portion of the meeting, the other 10 attendees appearing on the list was not present in the meeting. Furthermore, the Lieutenant Colonel's name doesn't appear on the attendance list, but she was in attendance in the meeting during the presentation on the PKTT, as she accompanied Lieutenant General Khumalo, and understood that she had assisted in the presentation of the preparation of the presentation. When the PKTT disbandment agenda item was discussed, the minister became visibly angry. At this point, I, together with Lieutenant General Khumalo, was still proposing that the disbandment not be implemented, but if it was going to be implemented, that it be a gradual disbandment as proposed and agreed in the 6th of March 2025 meeting. I have no idea what transpired after the 6th of March meeting that had such a significant influence on the minister. He was now completely against the agreed gradual approach and reverted to the immediate disbandment. The minister appeared to be angered by the fact that the statistics presented to him in the meeting showed that the PKTT members were still working and had made progress as reported by Lieutenant General Khumalo in the meeting. So, Lieutenant General Sibiya, for your comment, this is what the National Commissioner said. There was going to be the bottom line is no immediate disbandment. They will continue to do their work until these cases are finalized.
Yes.
Do you agree with that?
I agree with the fact that the National Commissioner didn't agree with immediate disbandment. And he actually produced a plan that speaks to the phasing out approach. And that plan is that what was found. It's exactly what happened.
He also didn't agree with what you wrote there on the 24th of April in that letter which you handed me and which Brigadier Kuneni, the investigating officer, referred to in his affidavit, where it calls for the return of the dockets and effectively the disbandment of the PKTT by I think also the 24th or the end of April.
Remember that, Chair and members, the National Commissioner never made it visibly clear that he doesn't agree with the minister. And I'm sure he has said it many times, even in the commissions, in particular at the Madlanga commissions. He said he didn't really object. And they asked him, would you carry out with him an unlawful instructions? He did. He never visibly really said, no, I don't agree. The National Commissioner worked with everyone, with us. And he never indicated really that he's not in agreement. That's why he could come up with an action plan that he approved, the one of the 6th of March. And you remember that statement where he said, he instructed General Khumalo, and his instructions took precedence over mine. We were not in competition with the National Commission. He's the National Commissioner. Once he say left is left. Once he say right is right. So to say his instruction took precedence over mine. Personally, I'm saying whatever that happened on instruction of the National Commissioner, starting from the email that I received on the 3rd, leading to the action plan crafted by General Khumalo, leading to the docket being brought over as per the action plan. Everything that happened because the National Commissioner gave that instruction.
Well, it doesn't appear from
Senior Counsel.
Sorry.
I just want to bring this matter to the attention of the House. There are South Africans who are following these proceedings, and at times they struggle to hear us. I don't know whether the problem is the sound of the respective devices that they are using at their houses. But if we can try and help the Republic so that we do not get a regular feedback about people complaining about the sound that they struggle to hear us. If we can we can try and help them. You may proceed.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. But you see, the National Commissioner's position remains consistent with respect, and this is apparent from his evidence, and I'm reading to you again from his affidavit, because you will recall that you submitted a proposal for additional funding. Why? Because the PKTT was going to be disbanded. You asked for additional funding, clearly not for the PKTT. It was for the continuation of the work of the PKTT. It was Dockets you had now requested to be returned, and this work was presumably going to be allocated elsewhere. So on the 22nd of July, and this I think while you were at home, on the 22nd of July, the National Commissioner disapproved your request for funding for the investigation of the 121 political task team killing Dockets, proposed by Major General Motsepe and recommended by yourself. This was in essence a proposal for the 121 Dockets to be investigated and finalized by the Serious and Violent Crime Investigation, Murder and Robbery Section. And then the funding request by you is attached. And then the National Commissioner says, I disapproved the funding because it was essentially a duplication of the PKTT's mandate. I also questioned why the Dockets are at headquarters when it was agreed that some Dockets from the PKTT be returned to the station of origin. And that is still the case until today, Lieutenant General Sevilla, and you accept that?
No, I don't agree. And it is
you don't agree with what? I'm saying the position as far as the PKTT is concerned, they still remain in place. They still investigate all these Dockets. They've been returned. They're working on them. They're processing them. They're proceeding with prosecutions, etc. And they have now been extended until 26 March 2026. I thought we agreed that earlier. Those are the objective facts.
Councillor, you give me a wrong proposal, and when you ask me, do you agree? And I say no, and you say you don't agree with what? I'm saying to you now, Councillor, when the Dockets were collected and were taken to General Mkwanazi, he rejected. And when he rejected the Dockets, they informed, General Sintumule immediately informed the National Commission. The National Commissioner said, let General Sibia make a plan, the DNC make a plan. Then they put a team together, and General Motsepe prepared a report and a request for a budget for the members to go down and carry on with these investigations. It's not a question of we were disbanding and then starting something new. We can't close a task team only to start another one. That was not the idea. And I'm sure we all agree that General Mkwanazi did agree that he refused to accept the Docket because he says he was not told how the Docket left. When he found out how the Docket left, he immediately said, no, I don't want them, let them go back to where they come from, take them to General Sibia's office. And I also want to make sure that, because Council, there's somewhere where I wanted to highlight that General Mkwanazi did, in his statement, where he made a statement here and at Madlanga where there is a contradiction, because at one moment he said he spoke to General Kumalo and asked General, or he was informed by General Kumalo as to what happened, why the Dockets there. The first time he got to know about the fact that the Dockets are ahead of the office, he said is when he got a call from General Sintumu. And the second time around, he says, no, there was a case management plan or discussion in KZN, and there's a colonel who told him that no, the Dockets are at head office. So he gave two contradictory statements. So I just want to...
But General Sabia, with respect,
Yes, Council.
the fact that Lieutenant General Mkwanazi refused to accept the Dockets is neither here nor there. He never had the documents in his possession or under his control. The person who was responsible for the Dockets was the project team leader, and that is Brigadier General Kumalo. So when the Dockets are returned to General Mkwanazi, he says, oh, why are you bringing it to me? I've never had these Dockets. What must I do the Dockets? So I would submit to you with respect that that's neither here nor there, that he refused to take the Dockets back. Surely, and that's also what he said in his evidence.
No,
just to round it off, that these Dockets must be returned in the way they were taken away in the first place.
No, Chair. Let us look at this thing for what it is. The Dockets were taken to General Sintumule, who is the Divisional Commissioner of Detectives, who is the custodian of these Dockets, called General Mkopozi, who is the Deputy Provincial Commissioner for Crime Detection, that I'm bringing this Docket down there. And the general said, let me hear from the PC if I can receive this Docket. The Provincial Commissioner said, I don't want this Docket in my province. Take them to General CBS office. And that is a fact. That is what happened. He doesn't deny that he said that.
In fact, he wasn't even aware, General Sabia, that the Dockets had been removed. I mean, this was only confirmed on the 20th of May, according to his statement, at a case flow management meeting, when he subsequently learned that the Dockets were handed over on your instructions.
I need a statement where he says, I learned for the first time when I received a call from General Sintumula about the Dockets. And that's when I got to know that there are Dockets. The Dockets are not here. He gave two versions, different versions. And those two different versions cannot be mixed. They cannot be ignored as well. They must be put together on different affidavits.
General Sabia, I'm submitting to you that we will be here even longer if we must dwell on this issue. I am saying to you that it is of no moment. What we were discussing was whether or not the directive of the minister on the 31st of December to disestablish the task team immediately, whether that was ever implemented. It clearly appears to be the case from our interaction, from our discussion, from what I've put to you, from what you've put to the honorable members before this committee, that was not the case. It was never implemented immediately. There were differences. Maybe we can leave it at that. There were differences with this plan. But at the end of the day, we know that the PKTT still exists and is still in operation.
I agree. It was never implemented fully. But what happened is exactly in terms of the action plan that says this is what is going to unfold. We are going to be taking the docket. The phase-out approach talks about 3 stages. The first stage being to take the docket to murder and robbery unit, which was presented by General Khumalo in cabinet, in Parliament, Portfolio Committee, and the very next day at the meeting of the 6th. Now, that is what they were implementing in phases. The first phase being to take the dockets to the murder and robbery units. That is why the other dockets and instruction was given that they be, the 3 dockets, the instruction was given that they be sent to Eastern Cape, Umtata. But the bottom line is that what the National Commissioner and General Khumalo presented on the 6th, that we are going to face it in, is what happened. The bringing of the docket is the first phase. And remember that the National Commissioner had already said he gave an instruction and even told them that ignore that one, to ignore my instructions, and of which the National Commissioner is allowed to do that. So whatever that flowed thereafter from General Khumalo cannot say, or anybody for that matter cannot say, yeah, but you gave these instructions and it was complied with. Already the National Commissioner instructed General Khumalo to say, ignore that one, or ignore this. This is where we are going now. So there's no way any other person can listen to me over and above the National Commissioner, especially knowing the position of the National Commissioner. So General Khumalo cannot here come and say, or General Sintumule cannot say, I was instructed by General Sibia. The bottom line is, the National Commissioner said, Khumalo, do this. And that is the report that was presented before the minister. That includes the phase-out approach. Now, when we talk about the phase-out approach, this is what the National Commissioner said, we are going to do it in terms of the phase-out approach. Now, the phase-out approach, let's spell it out. The first phase is bringing the dockets that are under investigation. The second phase means the dockets that are in court for decision and in between. The third phase being the court dockets that had to now be carrying on until their finalization. To an extent that they, in their presentation, they even said most of the cases will actually end in 2025, which was not correct. We're almost towards the end of 2025 and they are far from being over. These are court dockets. You cannot say they will all end in 2025. But of importance is the fact that the first phase says to deliver the dockets to murder and robbery where they belong.
Can we perhaps look at a few aspects that's a bit more favorable to you?
Well, everything should be favorable.
At paragraph 85 of your statement on page 27.
27.
Yeah. Have you got it there? 27 of your statement.
Yeah, or 27 of my statement.
Of your statement, yeah, paragraph.
I've got it, Councillor.
The docket, once open, is in the custody and control of the detective, and I, as the Deputy National Commissioner, Crime Detection, am responsible for all the dockets in the country, including those that are with the DPCI and IPID. All dockets in the country at all police stations fall under your responsibility. And I want to reference, if I can go to the information note at page 60 of the core bundle. And specifically page 62 at paragraph 3.5.1, maybe you can read 3.5.1a.
Page 60,
62, paragraph 3.5.1.
yeah. This is a business case submission to improve the performance of the detectives in accordance with the SAP's annual performance plan. This is a document that I drafted for the approval of the National Commissioner that seeks to improve the performance of the detectives. Now, it reads thus: the purpose of this document information note is to provide the National Commissioner with the situational analysis of the detective performance and the proposed measures to improve it in accordance with the SAP's annual performance plan. The crime detection consists of 3 divisions, that is the detective, forensic services, and crime intelligence. And the value chain of crime detection is defined at the time a crime is reported until prosecution, and further enables the department to effectively combat and investigate crime through adequate training and resourcing for crime detection. So
Can I ask you to fast forward, please, to paragraph 3.5.1 small a on page 62.
Dockets allocated to various investigation environments. The Deputy National Commissioner Crime Detection is the custodian of all case dockets within the South African Police Service. However, there are case dockets that are investigated by other environments for whom the Deputy National Commissioner Crime Detection has no control over, whilst he must account for such docket. These case dockets are taken into account when the performance of the detective service is being measured. The table below is an indication of the total case dockets not under the control of the DNC crime detection. Now,
so let us just don't want to spend too much time on this. You want to expand on it. It seems to me that your statement in your at paragraph 85 on page 27 is supported by this document, this plan, which you say was approved by the National Commissioner.
yes, Councillor.
And it does, however, say at 3.5.1 small a, however, there are case dockets that are investigated by other environments for whom the Deputy National Commissioner Crime Detection has no control over, whilst he must account for such dockets.
Yes.
So it seems a bit unfair. You must still account for them, but you don't have any control over it.
That is what we are correcting.
Now, isn't the PKTT one of such
No,
environments?
no, it's not.
Or are you referring to IPID?
Can I read them into the record? We have national components such as the borderline operations. We've got chemical monitoring, counterintelligence investigation, crime intelligence gathering, cyber crime investigation, PCR, Directorate Independent Complaints. We have flash services. We've got Interpol, narcotic investigation, coordination, National Head Directorate for Priority Crime. We've got also National Priority Violent Crime, National and Transport Organized Crime Groups, Non-Ferrous Metals, Organized Crime Desk, Precious Metals, Priority Crime Management Center, Sector Investigation, SANEP Project, seconded members of other organizations. Now, Serious Commercial Crime Investigation, Serious Economic Offenses, Serious Organized Crime Investigation Unit. This is just head office national. Now, when you go to the total number of dockets there is 1,133. So those dockets are the dockets that are somewhere at head office, but not under the detectives. I need to know where are those dockets because the system says it's still open. In the Eastern Cape, we've got 2,305 case dockets that are like the Eastern Cape banking and electronic crime, Eastern Cape crimes against the state, Eastern Cape fraud and statute, Eastern Cape serial and electronic. So when you go according to the provinces, you can see the total number of case dockets. Now, these dockets are all over the country, and when you look at the and you concentrate and you go further, you will see that the same as for the case dockets being investigated by the Independent Police Directorate, IPID, these case dockets are also taken into account when the performance of the detective is being measured. But neither the Deputy National Commissioner Crime Detection, the Provincial Commissioner, or the Deputy Provincial Commissioner Crime Detection has any control over these dockets. Currently, there are 26,795 case dockets under the investigation of IPID. In other words, there are these dockets that are at IPID. Starting from when IPID started, they signed for dockets from the police station. When they close the docket, they don't return the docket to the station, get filed somewhere in IPID offices. Now, the system is open, this side. But once you push for all the dockets that are at IPID, that are at the DPCI, all those respective environment, your system improves, the performance of the detective improves. That is why you will see that you have 40,929 outstanding for more than 2 years are with DPCI, and the DNC crime detection has no control over this docket. There are more dockets at the units under the DPCI, but there is currently no system in place to draw the total of all cases within the DPCI. This also impacts negatively on the performance of the detective service, as the performance is calculated with the case docket taken into consideration. Now, we've got heavy workload of the detectives, and the table below dictated the total docket carried by members of investigating units. Now, when you look at the members, we've got 184,935 case dockets. And you look at the total case docket, members who are carrying between 1 and 50 dockets. We have 2,651 members who are carrying between 1 to 50. Members who are carrying 50 to 100 dockets, we've got 648 in the country. Members who are, no, this is the Eastern Cape alone. 101 to 200 cases is 450. Those that are carrying between 200 and 300 cases on hand, and one person carrying between 200 and 300 cases, you find that you've got 118 members. Now you've got members that are carrying 500 to 600 dockets, one person. We've got 7. And then those that are carrying 601 and more is 4. And then we've got a specific number. I've got a name here in Mtata, who's got the highest workload of 685. I don't know the situation.
So General, just to interrupt you there, sorry. There were then ultimately recommendations of how to improve the performance of the detective service, isn't it? And that you'll find at page 84. There were these recommendations that were made, and they were approved by the Divisional Commander Detective and Forensic Services HK Sentumele on the 20th of February 2024. They were approved by you on the 22nd of February 2024. And they were approved by the National Commissioner on the 10th of March 2024, although he says 6.1.1 approved. Are you at 84? 6.1.1 is the DPCI and IPID have their own SEPs 6 on the EIS. He approves that, but he says 6.1.2 not approved. All case dockets at Crime Intelligence, POPs, ORS to be returned to the detective service environment. 6.1.3 is approved. 6.1.4 approved. 6.1.5 he says it requires expand or explanation or meaning, not approved. 6.1.5 is the National Commissioner to direct all provincial commissioners to implement a docket, a reduction strategy, in brackets, recovery plan, and then the other recommendations are approved.
That's
So,
correct.
so that would have been the status quo until it's changed. Has it changed since then?
No, it doesn't change. Here, I was just actually highlighting the fact that we've got, as detectives, we've got dockets scattered all over the country that we cannot account. And we've got dockets that are open for more than 10 years in the system. Others are open for 20 years in the system. Others are open for 15 years. Where are those dockets? So that is why I make this presentation that actually seeks to make sure that we know how many dockets we have. And then if we know how many dockets we have, why do we still have a simple assault case open for 5 years? Why must it take so long? Why do we have a docket that hasn't been attended to for more than 10 years? Where is that docket? Why is it open? So this is when we need to make sure now that we cover we close the gap in making sure that in the system, what we have is dockets that are alive. Now we've got many dockets that we cannot account for years. And to an extent that at some point, we even received a query from correctional services that there are certain inmates that you find that every month or second month, their docket get postponed for 5 months. They've been in prison for quite too long. Their dockets are not being finalized because they keep on being postponed. So this seeks to address issues like those.
But General Sabia, I can reference, and these are your documents. You put them into the bundle, in the core bundle. At 87 and 88, you address the issue of poor performance of the detective service. So it's all commendable. You even address IPID. And also at page 90, you address the Provincial Commissioner Eastern Cape on the alleged poor performance, demanding feedback from them by the 29th. But if you look at all of that, you don't see any reference to the PKTT.
Because it was never an issue in my case, the issue of the PKTT is a test team that was running, and it doesn't form part of this. It was not even a focal point on my side. Here I was addressing the whole country, looking at the crime levels and how to improve the performance of the detectives.
Nothing. Sure, I would do honestly.